This is episode 27 of You Don't Know Anything About Women. I'm your host, Roy Calvin, giving you dating advice that the mods of Reddit don't want you to hear. Let's get into our first post. Anyone had luck dealing with hesitation when you could try to talk to someone you want to date? Last night, I was at a country bar, and a pretty woman was dancing there, and I said something to her about the dance. She turned and looked me full in the face, smiled, and said something positive back. She clearly expected me to start chatting with her, but my mind went blank. Right after that, I froze up and couldn't think of anything to say. It was really a perfect moment to strike up a conversation, but I hesitated a bit too long and couldn't think of what to say, and I just turned and walked away. I was caught completely off guard she'd responded so positively. This also happened to me another time yesterday where I was watching the dance floor right next to a woman, and after like a full minute, I got up the courage to talk to her and we danced. But it's super awkward if you hesitate for more than like 5 seconds. Anyone had success with just biting that bullet initially? I can talk to people just fine, but that initial moment of anxiety/fear is really hard for me to overcome. You're basically putting yourself out there for potential rejection. This actually extends to me talking to most anyone. One tip I've heard is that you wait 5 seconds, clear your anxious thoughts, and plunge in, but I still fear doing it. How do I get over that initial hesitation of talking to someone I'm attracted to? I'm totally fine once I get going. My initial answer is going to be pretty boring, but I will try to get a bit more specific. It just takes practice. Like many things I talk about on this podcast, it's not surprising that you go up to a girl and you feel under pressure, you don't know what to say. I don't know how much experience you have in doing this, but of course, like anybody who's kind of new to approaching a girl in a venue like a country bar, yeah, you're going to kind of freeze up when she starts talking, unless you have the natural gift of talking to girls, which I definitely didn't. I had to learn it myself. So this initial experience you talk about here, where she turned and looked you full in the face, smiled after you had said something to her, and she said something positive back, she clearly expected you to start chatting with her, but your mind went blank, and you froze up and couldn't think of anything to say, so you walked away. That's terrible that happened. It's good that you're trying to get help for it, but like anything would have been better in that moment than walking away, right? You could have said something stupid, and she still might have responded to it. I mean, she probably would have responded to it. You could have said, I can't find the bathroom in here, and that would have been so much better than just walking away and giving up on it. So there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. First of all, assume that they're going to give you a positive response. I think that's really important to keep in mind when you're approaching women, and it's something that I forget about sometimes too. But yeah, I try to remind myself, like, assume that she's going to want to talk to me. I don't want to go up to the girl thinking, gee, I don't know, she's really hot, maybe she won't talk to me. No, you want to have that positive mindset of, yeah, this girl is going to talk to me likely, so I better be prepared for that. Another thing to keep in mind, and this was kind of mentioned in the comments, so there was actually a decent comment for once, is to kind of have a couple of things in mind that you can talk about with women. Not to the point where you're saying the exact same thing each time, but like especially, for example, if you're at this country bar regularly, there might be some specific things about this venue that you can kind of comment on over and over again when you talk to women there. I also comment on what women are wearing pretty regularly, even though there's a comment there saying, like, don't do that or don't call them cute or whatever. I don't call their face cute, you know what I mean? I say, like, oh, I like your shoes or whatever. That's something you can have in mind when you go up and talk to them. Like, if she says something positive about what you first say, then you can be like, oh, I also really like your fucking cowboy boots that you have on right now. It sounds so simple when I say it, right? And that's because it is. One more thing, and maybe the most important thing, is that you don't have to say anything right away. You can wait a few seconds and just let what she said sink in and think of your response within those few seconds. Because you say later on in a different situation that blah, 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 you didn't talk to this girl in time and it's super awkward if you hesitate for more than 5 seconds. Not really. I understand the awkwardness if that's not a situation that you're used to, but I feel like in a country bar where everybody's dancing, like 5 seconds is not that long. You say something to her, she says something back. Okay, you dance for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you say something else to her. I mean, that's not really that long of an amount of time. Maybe if you were just sitting across from each other in like a quiet cafe, that might be a bit strange. But even then, there's a lot more room for silence in interactions with women than a lot of guys believe. So don't feel pressured like you have to have the timing of a comedian and just come back with something right away. No, just let it sink in for a couple seconds and then say whatever you've thought of. But again, you could also have some things just up your sleeve about what you're going to talk about generally. I also want to comment about just the general hesitation before you even start talking to the woman, not while you're in conversation. Back to that line you said about how it's really awkward if you hesitate for more than 5 seconds. I think you might have been talking about when you initially go approach a girl, like you're waiting trying to get up the courage to even open her. And you said that you got the courage after a minute and you did it, but it feels really awkward if you wait more than 5 seconds. I wouldn't worry about that too much. I feel like that the same though, honestly, but I'm talking about more like street approach. Like if I see a girl and I'm just having an off day, even I'm kind of nervous. I don't want to go up to her. I'm scared. I do feel like my aura just kind of gets ruined. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? I've been walking behind this girl for 30 seconds and I can't find the courage to speed up and go walk alongside her and say something. So I do agree that it's better if you can do it ASAP. But I still applaud you for doing it after a minute. I mean, it still takes balls. I kind of feel like the longer you wait, it kind of makes it even harder on yourself. But you still did it, so that's good. Near the end of your post, you write that one tip you've heard is wait 5 seconds, clear your anxious thoughts, and plunge in, but you still fear doing it. That is good advice, and it's something that I still do to this day if I'm having a particularly anxious day. Just take a nice deep breath before I actually go up and open the girl, try to get rid of my anxious thoughts. I do find it helps, and I find that if I don't do that, then sometimes I just go up and I start talking too quickly to the girl, and I'm not really listening to her, and yeah, it can kind of derail, so definitely good to take that breath and just slow down. So that is good advice. Hope you take those other tips that I gave you. But yeah, the big one is just you gotta practice more, and you will get better at it. Okay, let's get on to our next post for this episode. Was dumped by my dating therapist, and now I don't know what to do. So I have had 3 dates in the past nearly 7 years. They were all horrible. I try. I talk to women. I ask women out. I get rejected all the time. So I recently got a dating coach. She was basically a therapist who focuses on dating issues. But in the 5 sessions we had, nothing happened. She asked me to get a Hinge. She told me to hand out my number to women. She knew I had autism because I told her. She seemed to assume that it means I am completely incapable of talking to women because she asked me how much I was willing to mask to get a date. And I said as much as I can. After I said this, she immediately told me my assignment was to reflect on how much I'm willing to mask. Then she sent me an email saying that she was dumping me as a client and sent me a recommendation for a company that helps people with autism. I'm aware that my autism has an effect on my dating abilities, but like I had told her before, I am capable of speaking to women, they like me, I just can't get them to be sexually attracted to me. I never got an answer from her, and now I'm down $650. Expensive lesson. But what is there for me to try now? Like I've said, I go out to different places. I'm not obese, I'm hygienic, women do like me. They are just never sexually interested. I'm not willing to become a red pillar. I'm a feminist and will not change that. What is there that I can try now? I would love to hear from women, but also men who've had any improvements in their dating. I basically just want to use this post as proof that dating therapists don't work and why would you hire one? I understand why this guy would if his situation is that dire. But wow, $650? I feel like a female dating therapist for men is not doing their job unless like she wants to fuck the guy. So it just doesn't compute with me. So let's address this elephant in the room final line here where he says, I'm not willing to become a red pillar. I'm a feminist and will not change that. So this is just a terrible attitude to have. I had a post recently on an episode where I talked about a guy who said he had basically tried everything and still wasn't getting dates. So I gave him advice and I sent him the podcast to listen to, and he responded to me respectfully, but said that I sound too much like a pickup artist and that all the relationships around him that he sees have not been formed by doing things that relate to the advice that I give on this podcast. So he rejected my advice and said that he wouldn't do it. And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't expect everybody to take my advice. That's fine. I'm giving unsolicited advice. So, of course, it doesn't bother me if people don't like my advice or don't want to follow it or disagree and call me an idiot because they don't like it. But okay, that previous guy had done all that stuff and I gave him advice and he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, okay, well, your life is probably going to continue the way that it's been going. You're probably not going to be able to meet any women. You're at your wit's end. You posted on Reddit. I gave you some advice that will change things. I think it's at least different than what you've been doing up until now. But he's just, nah, I'm not going to do that. Like, yeah, it doesn't seem like you want to change. So same to you, my friend, writing this post today saying, I'm not willing to become a red pillar. I'm a feminist and will not change that. It's just a bad attitude to say, yeah, my foot's in the ground here. That's it. Like, what has not being a red pillar and being a feminist done for you up until this point? And if you listen to previous episodes of this podcast, like, it's not a playbook that I follow. I just give my thoughts and what I've found works in dating. And if somebody labels that as red pill or whatever, then, that's fine. That's their opinion. But I'm not like, hey, I'm a red pillar and therefore I think this way and therefore you should too. That's not the way I approach things at all. And I don't feel like I relate with communities that do that for the most part. But yeah, consider that maybe what you think is red pill is something that would benefit you in your dating life. Otherwise, you can have the same mindset and keep getting the same results probably. But okay, I am going to help you, or at least try to, even if you don't want my advice either. Here it is. First of all, yeah, let's ditch the dating therapist. She did you a favor by dumping you as a client and, preventing you from spending any more money on her useless sessions. And even though I think dating therapists are stupid, and you might think that as well too now, I still give you props for recognizing that you need help and trying to get it, as opposed to other posts I read on here who just complain that they don't get any women and seem to be making minimal effort to change that. So you said that this therapist seemed to assume that because you have autism, you are completely incapable of talking to women, and she asked how much you were willing to mask to get a date. And you said as much as you can. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what masking is, and it's not something that I knew about until very recently because I happened to see it on a TV show. And had I not seen that show, I probably wouldn't have talked about this post because I wouldn't have understood it. But I don't know. In layman's terms, it's basically like lying and hiding what you truly feel or how you truly want to react. This is not a medical definition. This is how I'm defining it. Which, by the way, I think everybody is guilty of at some point. Like, this doesn't just apply to people who have autism. Like, of course, we all have to lie and hide our own thoughts sometimes. I guess it's just more extreme with people with autism. And yeah, then she said at the end of the session that your assignment was to reflect on how much you're willing to mask. Now, there's a couple of comments here saying that it's insane for a therapist to suggest that you need to mask to get dates, but I don't really see it that way, despite me thinking that dating therapists are useless. It's kind of just like fake it till you make it. Like sometimes you just have to fucking lie to girls to get to where you want to go. And it's not a malicious way of lying. It's like, I need to come across as the guy who sleeps with and dates with these girls around me or this girl in front of me. From that perspective, I can totally understand it. Kind of reminds me how on this podcast, I've gone through quite a few posts of guys who are saying that they're like a virgin at 30 years old, and should they lie to the girl about it, or should they come out straight up and tell them that they're a virgin? And I always say, like, man, just fucking, first of all, it's probably not even going to come up. But if it does, lie about it. You have to fake it till you make it. Girls don't want to know that you're a 30-year-old virgin. So I guess it kind of depends on what this therapist is telling you to mask about, but I'm kind of for that advice of like, yeah, we might have to stretch the truth a little bit in order to get you dates. I had to go through the same thing myself, of course. Just me not knowing anything about women or dating. When I started trying to talk to girls, I had to come across like I knew what I was doing with women, but I didn't. But eventually, you do that and you get some success, and then you do become that guy who knows what you're doing. So after telling that story, you sum up your post asking, what is there for you to try now? You say you regularly go out to different places. Well, you can go out to as many places as you want, but if you're not approaching women, then nothing's ever going to really happen to you. And that's what my experience was too. I've said many times on this podcast, I was never a guy who just had women swarming towards me, trying to date me. I have to go make these opportunities happen for myself, still to this day. So I don't know if you have or haven't, but definitely make an effort to just go up and approach a woman in public, whether that's out on the street somewhere or if you're at a bar, maybe some social event, anything like that. And you mentioned in this final part that women do like you. They're just never sexually interested. That's a complaint that a lot of guys have for sure, and me as well. Like, when I was younger, I never had any problems just talking to women, but I would never pursue them. I don't think they saw me like that, and it's because I wasn't that guy who would just be confident and ask women out. I could give suggestions on how to go up to women and talk to them, but that would take a lot more time on the podcast, and it's not really what you're talking about. So my suggestion, instead of getting any more dating therapist sessions, which cost $650, I guess, for the 5 sessions that you did, go listen to all the episodes of this podcast. There's 27 episodes now. Go into them with an open mind. They're free. And yeah, if it's not obvious by now, just do not hire a dating coach or dating therapist again, especially if it's a woman. They just don't understand what dating is like from a man's perspective. Okay, let's go on to our next post for this episode. How do I enjoy hobbies previously shared with an ex? I've been separated from my long-term ex, 6 years, for just over a year now. I really like where I'm at in my life, but I've noticed that I'm reluctant to partake in hobbies we once shared, like escape rooms. I'm having trouble detaching the memories from the hobby itself. Anyone else experience this? I think that's a pretty normal way to feel after 6 years with somebody, but you've been broken up for a year now. I know it can still be hard, but you shouldn't be reluctant to partake in these hobbies. Well, if it is actually something you want to go back and do, I mean, escape rooms is the example that you gave. If you feel like that's still a hobby and that's still something that you want to do, then yeah, you gotta go, especially now. It's been over a year. I don't know if you've gone to an escape room in that time, but now is the time to try. Maybe you'll go there with a friend. Yeah, maybe you'll think about your ex at the beginning, but maybe you'll get so into the escape room. I know they require a lot of thought, that those thoughts about your ex might just disappear as you start escaping, I guess. So I assume that that's the perspective that you have right now, where it is something that you still like and that you want to do. But also, yeah, I mean, maybe it's something that you just don't enjoy doing anymore because of those memories with your ex. That would be pretty unfortunate and sad, but it might just have to be something that you put on the back shelf forever, or maybe at least for a while. Maybe you don't want to do them again for a couple of years. I don't know. Another thing you can do is get new hobbies, something that won't remind you of your ex at all. But in any case, it's time that will just make everything okay again, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. But you say that you like where you're at in life. Like, it doesn't seem like if you go to an escape room, you're going to start crying about your ex and wish that you had her back. So of the two ways I just said that you can deal with it, I would go with the first one. Just, you got to start doing your hobby again. Hopefully you have a friend who can go with you. Escape room alone seems like it would be depressing if it's a place that you were going with your ex before, just the two of you. So maybe don't go alone, but find some friends or a friend and just go and do it. This is not shocking advice by any means. It's just something you got to get out and do. It can be difficult to find hobbies that you like, so I wouldn't want to see you throw away one just because a girl that you broke up with over a year ago pops into your mind if you go and try it out. So that's it. Not much more I can say about this one. Let's go on to the next post for this episode. What would you do after the first date? Went on a date with a girl on Friday who I met from Hinge. I thought it went well since we were laughing and joking and the date lasted 3.5 hours. I hugged her at the end but didn't want to put her on the spot, so I said that I hope we'll see each other again. After the date, she texted me that she got home safely, and I responded that I had a great time with her and we should do this again sometime. It's been 2 days and I haven't heard anything back. It seems so confusing to me, since I thought we had a great time and she texted me that she got home. She hasn't unmatched me from Hinge yet, but I'm unsure if I should just give up or if I should send one last message. We're both in our mid-20s, by the way. I'm sure that you don't realize it, but wow, you really went from 0 to 100 here. She texted you when she got home. That's a good sign. You say that you had a great time with her and we should do this again sometime. And she didn't say anything. Maybe I should just give up. What are you talking about? That's a huge overreaction. And you say it seems confusing to you because you thought you had a great time together and because she texted you when she got home. So that's fine. I guess I can understand how it would be confusing. And I'm here to help people who are new to dating and don't have that much experience. So I'm not trying to shit on you. But here's what's going on here. There's very few situations where I can say like with 100% certainty what's happening. But like this is up there. So she texted you when she got home. You responded that you had a great time with her and we should do this again sometime. Okay, and that's the last communication that's happened. So what you said was not a clear invitation for a date. And I want to clarify here and say that I don't think that the night that she gets home from your date is when you should start planning the next one. So I don't think it's a huge issue that on that day, that was the final message you sent and then she sent nothing else. Like it's an okay text message from you. We should do this again sometime. I don't love it, but I don't think this text message ruined anything. So it's been 2 days and you haven't heard anything back. What you sent was not an invitation. It was just like some vague future thing. Yeah, we'll hang out sometime. Like, sure, she could have responded, oh, I'd like to do that. But it really doesn't matter if she says that or not. You should just assume that she wants to. It's not a big deal at all that you haven't heard anything in 2 days. What you sent is not something that needs a response. This kind of goes back to a bigger issue that a lot of guys are just intimidated to actually ask for the date. Now, you did get her out this one time, so I'm not saying it necessarily applies to you. But some guys just will not say straight up, hey, are you free on Friday or Sunday? Let's hang out. They'll just be like, oh, we should hang out sometime. Like, no, you got to kind of grab the bull by the horns and say straight up, let's go on a date on these days. Are you free? You need to be the one to do that. You can't expect her to come back with you after you say, we should do this again sometime with, yeah, I'm free on Thursday night. Let's hang out. You're just basically never going to get a response like that from women. So this is good news for you, I guess. I think you're way overthinking. It's probably still a good situation. Seems like a high chance that she is willing to meet again. So you definitely need to send that message. And yeah, you call it like, should I send one last message? As if it's like an ultimatum. No, it's definitely not. It's not one last message. You should be asking, should I send the next message? Yes, you should. This is another thing I see often on Reddit where guys just give up way too easily. They just assume things are over even though either A, they're still in a good position to get their next date or whatever, or B, maybe they're not in a great position, but they're never going to know until they send the message. So that's another thing I've said over and over again. Just always send the message. Even if maybe you invited her out and she ignored the message or didn't get back to you or whatever, just whatever, send it again if you really like this girl. Of course, you can give up at some point, but we got to put some effort in here. And just one quick thing that we can talk about to understand this girl's response more is think about it if the roles were reversed. Now, maybe you would respond differently, but here's how I would respond if a girl sent me a message that said, we should do this again sometime. I might either send like a thumbs up emoji or I might send nothing at all. And that's with the assumption, by the way, that I do want to see this girl again. Like if she says we should do this again sometime, I'm not even at that moment as the man who wants to lead and be the person to schedule the dates and choose where we want to go. I'm not even going to do that from that message. I'm going to do it some other time. I don't take we should do this again sometime as a signal to set up the next date right away. So don't sweat it. Send your message, invite her out again. And yeah, just keep this in mind next time. You need to send an actual invite. All right, let's go on to one final post for this episode. Is it too much to ask for some basic respect during a first date? So I met this girl on Hinge and we seemed to have a lot in common. We went to this nice lounge for drinks, and honestly the conversation started off pretty well. But then her phone buzzed, and it was like I suddenly became invisible. She didn't just check a notification, she actually started scrolling through her feed while I was mid-sentence. I tried to ignore it the first couple of times, but after the third time she picked it up, I just stopped talking and waited. She looked up and asked why I stopped, and I just said, hey, I really value my time, and I think it's kind of disrespectful to be on your phone the whole time we're trying to get to know each other. I wasn't shouting or being aggressive, just being direct about how I felt. She looked at me like I insulted her entire family, threw some cash on the table for her drink, and just walked out without saying a single word. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the asshole for having a boundary, or if dating in 2026 is just completely cooked. Like, is it really that hard to put the device away for an hour? My friends say I should have just made a joke about it instead of being so blunt, but I feel like at our age, you should already know better. Did I actually overstep here, or did I just dodge a bullet? I've got to point out one of the comments here that made me laugh. It's not a popular comment, it's way down, but it's just someone that says, what a hoe. Okay, so look, I totally agree with what you did, but let's just kind of play devil's advocate here for a little bit. And maybe you could have approached this situation a little bit different where it turned out more in your favor with like her coming home with you or whatever. So you said her phone buzzed and then it was like you became invisible. She didn't just check a notification, she actually started scrolling through her feed while you were mid-sentence. So that's totally rude and disrespectful, of course. I 100% agree with you. But the devil's advocate part is just people are phone zombies nowadays. So people pick up their phone and just start scrolling without even realizing it. And I think I'm guilty of it too, even though I think my smartphone usage is in like the lowest fucking 1% of anybody else my age. But like I can get a message on Instagram from my friend, I just want to respond to that. And then all of a sudden, once I respond to that, I'm back on my homepage, like scrolling. I'm like, wait a second, I don't want to be doing this. I usually have the awareness to stop. But yeah, like most people are like that. So I actually doubt that this girl consciously said, yeah, I'm going to start scrolling on my feed right now. She's just in that phone zombie state. Respond to this message from her friend, maybe, I don't know. And then it's just like a habit to go back to your homepage and start scrolling. So you said there was a couple of times she picked up her phone. I'm going to assume that her phone had buzzed each time. I don't think she just picked it up and started scrolling on her feed right away. Maybe she did, but I don't know. I'm just assuming it was a notification or whatever from a friend. I don't know. So you ignored it the first couple of times, and then the third time she picked it up, you stopped talking and you waited. I think that's fine. I think that's what I would have done too in that situation. Maybe like the first time I would have done it. You kind of showed some restraint by waiting till the third time, but just... yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to do. Like if my friend did it, if he picked up his phone and went on it while we were talking, like I would just pause and wait for him to be finished before I start talking again. Now, of course, a date is different. Like a date should just not pick up their phone at all. But yeah, if she does, just stop talking, I think. So then eventually she asks you and you said you really value your time and you think it's kind of disrespectful that she's on her phone. That might have been a bit too harsh. Now, again, it's not to excuse her poor behavior. I'm just thinking about how you could get on the path of where you want to go, which in my opinion should be getting this girl to come home with you. So yeah, I mean, girls never want to be berated like, hey, that's disrespectful, get off your phone. It would have been better to say like, oh no, I'm just waiting until you get off your phone. And I mean, even at that, she could have gotten up and stomped away. But the way you said it is kind of like making it a guaranteed. They just don't want to hear that something that they're doing is wrong. I feel like, especially... I mean, I assume that she's a hot girl that you're on a date with, but even just girls in general are like kind of not used to being called out on the shitty behavior because so many guys will just sit there and deal with whatever just for the chance of maybe getting a second date. They'll just put up with all of their bullshit. And then when someone comes around and calls them out, they're just appalled that you haven't put her on a pedestal and you're not giving her special treatment for being hot. I think it's a victory that she paid for her drink. She put cash on the table when she walked away. That's good. I'm kind of surprised. I figure she would have dumped the bill on you. So you mentioned that your friends say you should have made a joke about it instead of being so blunt. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying too. I'm not really saying to make a joke, but yeah, I just would have been a bit softer. Not, hey, it's really disrespectful of you. Just, yeah, I'm waiting until you're finished on your phone so we can talk more. And you're wondering if you dodged a bullet. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're dating seriously or what, but there's a lot of comments saying about how, yeah, you did dodge a bullet and you don't want to be with a woman like that. Well, I probably wouldn't want to be with a woman like that either, who, whenever we're out, she's going to be on her phone instead of talking to me. But maybe that is still a woman that I want to bring home with me that night, you know? I'm trying to think of a situation where I've been on a date and the girl has used her phone, but I don't think there's been that many. Definitely no huge, like, kind of blow up situations like you've had here. Like most girls with any decency, if they have to go on their phone, they'll just say like, oh, sorry, I gotta do this for a second. Okay, no problem. Or they'll just be on and off of it so quickly that it's not really an issue. So props to you, even though there still may have been a pathway to get this girl to come home with you. I still think it's good that you value your time and that you recognize that what she was doing is disrespectful and it's something that you weren't going to put up with for the rest of the date. So well done, you stood up for yourself, but maybe if that happens in the future, there's still a way to deal with it where you have a chance to continue the date with this girl. All right, that's it for this episode. If you don't know anything about women, make sure you check out the link in the show notes if you want to get in touch or support the show, and I will see you next time.